For 3 decades, Johnny Carson was America's constant companion after dark. Night after night, he entered living rooms with a warm smile, an easy laugh, and a golf swing that became a signature. His Midwestern charm made millions feel like they truly knew him. But the truth is, almost no one really did. Behind the polished timing and the calm presence was perhaps the most private celebrity of his generation, a man who kept his inner world sealed off with extraordinary discipline. Those who worked closest to him often admitted that Johnny created the illusion of intimacy while revealing almost nothing of himself. Viewers believed they were his friends. In reality, Carson maintained a distance so absolute it was almost unheard of for someone who lived on television 5 nights a week. This was not accidental. Carson believed mystery wasn't just preferable, it was essential. Around the studio, he had a saying, "Once they know who you really are, the magic disappears." He treated that belief as a guiding principle. His privacy wasn't simply stubbornness, it was part of the act. Protecting the illusion was, in his mind, the key to survival. Even after stepping away in 1992, he maintained the same silence. He never wrote a memoir, never embarked on a nostalgic farewell, never offered the grand summation so many expected. When he passed in 2005, he left behind no closing statement, no insight into his deepest thoughts, no final reflections. The silence was deliberate. He believed some matters should remain unanswered forever. Among the mysteries he carried with him was his fracture with Joan Rivers. For years, Rivers had been his trusted guest host, often described as his natural successor. But when she accepted a competing show in 1986, without telling him personally, Carson's response was swift and final. She was barred from The Tonight Show immediately. The punishment endured beyond his own tenure. What made it stranger was his complete refusal to ever address it. Rivers spoke openly for decades, admitting regret, even claiming she tried repeatedly to apologize. Carson never said a word. Those who were there recalled his reaction the morning the news broke. He read the headline, turned pale, declared, "She's banned," and walked away. He refused her calls, returned her letters unopened, and forbade her name from being mentioned around him. Whether his decision came from betrayal, wounded pride, or something more complicated, only he knew. He had many chances to forgive her, or to explain, or even to condemn her outright. He did none of those. Rivers, who lived nearly a decade longer, went to her own grave still wondering why he never broke the silence. Carson also kept hidden his real feelings toward Bob Hope. To the public, their interactions looked like a meeting of giants. Hope, the elder statesman of comedy, and Carson, his worthy heir. Johnny treated him with courtesy and laughter, always respectful of Hope's legacy. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. In his later years, Hope arrived armed with scripted jokes from his writers, unwilling to engage in natural conversation. For Carson, who valued spontaneity above all else, these appearances were torture. Staff recalled him complaining that it felt like propping up a wax figure. He never showed that frustration on camera. To viewers, he was the gracious host, smiling through jokes he had heard countless times before. Why he tolerated it remains unclear. Was it loyalty to a comedy pioneer? Pressure from the network? Or a sense of duty to someone who had given so much to American entertainment? Carson never explained. He carried that contradiction quietly, never allowing the public to see his disdain. His silence extended to his childhood. In public, Carson offered only vague comments about growing up in Nebraska and Iowa. He once described his father as distant, but rarely said more. Those close to him believed That relationship shaped much of his adult personality, his emotional reserve, his perfectionism, even his occasional bursts of anger. But whenever the subject arose, Johnny shut down completely. He refused to discuss it with friends, spouses, or biographers. Some saw in his privacy the traces of a Midwestern code. You didn't air family business in public. Whatever struggles he carried from those early years, he kept them locked away, never to be shared, even in his most private moments. This reserve extended to his friendships as well. Carson had countless acquaintances, but very few people he let in. Colleagues debated who, if anyone, was his closest confidant. Some believed it was Ed McMahon, his partner for 30 years. Others suggested longtime producer Peter Lassalle. His lawyer, Henry Bushkin, believed he filled that role until they fell out. Some pointed to his brother Dick. Yet Carson himself never confirmed anyone as truly close. Even those who thought they knew him often discovered there was a boundary they could not cross. He believed intimacy lost its meaning the moment it became public. If someone held his deepest trust, the world never knew who it was. The same pattern appeared in his politics. For 30 years, he had the power to shape opinion, yet he never revealed his true beliefs. On air, he teased politicians equally, maintaining careful neutrality. Privately, he sometimes hinted at being socially liberal and fiscally conservative, but he never aligned with any party or movement. He once told a friend, "I just want smaller government and more laughs." Beyond that, he offered nothing. He interviewed every president from Kennedy to Clinton, but never gave a clue about his own views. His belief was clear. People invited him into their homes to laugh, not to be lectured on how to vote. After retirement, the silence only deepened. Where most stars chase comebacks, Carson never returned. Despite countless offers, he declined them all. He didn't host specials, didn't appear on tribute shows, didn't even take a curtain call. Yet now and then, he slipped jokes to David Letterman, who occasionally used them on air. It was proof that the instinct never left him, even if the desire for the spotlight had. Friends said he sometimes missed the rhythm of performing, but he valued his privacy more. Perhaps he feared overstaying his welcome. Perhaps he simply preferred a quiet life of tennis, astronomy, and sailing. Whatever the reason, he never explained. What truly made him laugh in private was also a mystery. On air, his laughter was genuine but measured. Off air, only a handful of people could reduce him to uncontrollable laughter. Producers remembered those rare moments when he laughed until he cried, completely unguarded, like a child. Who those people were, he never revealed. He respected many comedians publicly, but kept the ones who touched his private sense of humor a secret. It was another boundary he never crossed. There were also the unexplained absences. Throughout his career, he occasionally vanished from the show for weeks. NBC cited illness or exhaustion, but insiders whispered of emotional breakdowns, one after his divorce, another after the falling out with Rivers. In those times, guest hosts filled in, and when Johnny returned, no one ever spoke of it. He compartmentalized completely. Whatever pain he endured was invisible to the audience. In an age before celebrities spoke openly about mental health, Carson kept his struggles firmly locked away. Even his legacy remained undefined. He never wrote an autobiography, never gave a farewell interview, never told the world how he wished to be remembered. Publishers offered millions. Filmmakers begged for his story. Yet he declined every request. Some saw humility in this. Others saw it as the final act of control. By refusing to explain himself, he left his story for others to interpret. He often said the moment you start talking about your place in history, you admit that history is over. When he died, he left no farewell letter, no summation, no last word. He allowed the work itself, 30 years of laughter, comfort, and companionship, to stand alone. Johnny Carson went to the grave with his secrets intact. His feelings, his fears, his private truths all remained hidden, just as he wanted. America thought it knew him. In reality, it knew only the man on stage, never the man behind the curtain. And that is exactly how Johnny Carson intended it to be.